Good morning. Welcome to our Municipal Council agenda for Tuesday, October 5th, 2021. At this time, I'd like to call our meeting to order and ask if there's any declaration of interest. Seeing none, I will move to our land acknowledgement statement. The town of East Gwillimbury recognizes and acknowledges the land originally used and occupied by the First Peoples of the Williams Treaty First Nation and other Indigenous peoples. And on behalf of the Mayor and Council, we would like to thank them for sharing this land. We would also like to acknowledge the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation as our closest First Nation community and recognize the unique relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and waters in this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and we join them in these responsibilities. I have a few community announcements. On September 30th, the town of East Gwillimbury, with a flag raising, formally recognized the first National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. The farmers market also had an information booth as well. Dr. Kareem Kurji, many know that name very well. He was pretty quiet for the longest time. He is the York Region's Medical Officer of Health. He retired effective September 30th, following almost 4 decades of public service in York Region. On behalf of Council and our residents, I want to acknowledge and thank Dr. Kurji for his service, for his guidance throughout COVID pandemic. Dr. Kurji, our best to you for a healthy and enjoyable retirement. A formal letter will be sent out to Dr. Kurji on behalf of Council. On October 1st, in recognition of National Seniors Day, along with members of Council, I attended the official unveiling of the East Gwillimbury Seniors Club new name. It will now be known as the East Gwillimbury 55 and Up Club. Pretty catchy. The town, as approved by Council, will be providing meeting space for the 55 and Up Club. On Friday, I took the opportunity when I was at the arena to visit the Ontario Loft, and it is very apparent that some renovations are needed prior to opening the space for the use of our seniors. The expectation was to approve the costs within the 22 budget process. However, I believe it is timely that we expedite the approval process, and I am today asking Council to support me in providing direction to staff to begin the necessary renovations immediately. Understanding we need to allocate funds to this project, CAO Webster, could you please advise if we have funding available to undertake the necessary work now rather than waiting for the 22 budget process?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have the privilege. We, at the staff level, we've been working diligently on putting the 2022 budget together. There has been a capital project identified for a renovation and refurbishment to the Ontario Loft to make it suitable for use by the seniors group and others as well. The budget amount is approximately $50,000. It would include new paint, rugs, and other type of apparatus. But at this point in time, if it remains in the budget, it would be approved sometime in December, and it would be carried out early in the new year. If Council chooses to advance it and allow staff to immediately begin refurbishment, to fund that amount, we do have a corporate contingency that has not been utilized at all this year that is available for that purpose, as well as other funding sources. So I would strongly suggest that we do have the resources if Council so chooses to provide direction.
Thank you very much. Councillor Persicini had a question.
Yeah, well, I have a motion to move this ahead of time. If anybody's ever worked with Bill and his team, I've worked with them for 4 years, and they're a great bunch of people. They do good community work, and you know who you are if you work with them, how good they are. And I would like to get this project going, but I would like to make sure that if we do any renovation, I would like to have 2 or 3 different people give us different prices to make sure we get the fair price, because normally what happens is a town thing going on, they always buff it up about 20% to 10%. But I really think this is a good move. If you have worked with Bill, you know you should support it. But I'm not telling you to, anything else, but appreciate what I'm talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Roy DeClemente, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm wondering if we can move this to a more appropriate position on our agenda. This is under community announcements, and this is actually trying to further the business of the town. Perhaps we could move this under other business or under CPRC or facilities, but I don't think it's appropriate to be dealing with it at this time. Thank you.
I would ask, I guess, Madam Clerk, should we be moving this to a different place, or can we deal with this at this point?
Through you, Madam Mayor, Council does have an ability to waive procedure with respect to passing of a particular motion. If it is the interest of Council to pass this motion now, you have an ability to do so. If not, the matter can be deferred to a later time in the agenda.
I had somebody else's hand up, so let me take that and then I'll come back. Councillor Foster, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just thought one other thing that might be worth mentioning here. I'm not 100% sure how our deals work and what we supply to the two other seniors groups in Mount Albert and Holland Landing. Is there a way that we can assure that this space at the Ontario Loft would be available to them for an event or anything that they may have where that facility may fit better than what they're using?
I think we're open to whatever suggestions we have as council. I guess my concern is that if we wait until we put this into the budget for 2022, we've lost some time. We know how construction is behind now, and the sooner that we could get this moving forward, the sooner that the seniors will be in there. I think there's room for discussion. The first thing is the facility. I don't know who have been up into it lately, but it certainly is in dire needs of renovation. So that's number one, regardless of who has it. But I think the commitment has been to the 55 and up that they will have use of it as well. So that's where I'm at this point. Other questions or comments? Councillor Crothers, go ahead.
Thank you. I agree with the need to move on this ahead of the budget, but I also agree with Councillor Roy DeClemente that I don't like bringing motions straight to the table during community announcements. So, usually we get a notice of motion. I understand why we're not doing that with this one, but at least let's put it under other business. So we have a little bit of time to kind of sit on this and decide what else we might want to put in the motion. I think other business, it's further down the agenda. Give us a few hours to just think on this a little bit, so we're not rushing into it. I just think it's a slippery slope if we start bringing motions without any notice to council through community announcements. So I would like to see this under other business, please.
Any other comments, questions? I'm not seeing it. Councillor Morton, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have another event that I have to go to that I can't stand until too late today. So if we could still move ahead, I would appreciate it. It's not often that I ask for anything other than what we normally hold every day. So if that could be done, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Webster?
Well, we might have to have a vote on whether this gets moved to other business, Madam Mayor, at this point in time. So I'll put it back to council. I see that the two councillors clearly want to deal with another business. Staff are open to whatever direction provided.
Thank you. Councillor Roy DeClemente, go ahead, please.
How about as a compromise, we move it under item Item N, Community Parks, Recreation and Culture. That's where our facilities fall, and I believe those would be the staff who would be responsible for conducting the work and making sure that the facility was up to snuff. So that doesn't put it at the end of the agenda, but puts it further on under something that's more appropriate, and I'm happy to move that motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Crothers. Does everyone understand the motion? All those in favor? And that carries. Okay, we'll move it to Parks and Recreation, Community Parks, Recreation, Culture under item N. In the meantime, I will continue along with my agenda here. October 3rd to the 9th is Fire Prevention Week. On October 6th, tomorrow evening, our emergency services are hosting an educational open house at the Queensville Firegrounds, 4 to 8 p.m. And my final announcement this week, October 4th to the 8th, we celebrate National Customer Service Week 2021. Every position includes a component of offering exemplary customer service, and this is no different for the positions at EG. Our staff always strive to provide quality customer service. However, the dedication and commitment shown to our residents throughout the COVID-19 pandemic is to be applauded. On many occasions, our staff went above and beyond to try and minimize the negative impact this pandemic had on so many. And on behalf of council, I extend our thanks and appreciation to every member of our great team. Your delivery of exceptional customer service was noticed, and we thank you. Give them a round of applause. Are there any updates from members of council? Councillor Foster, and then Councillor Crothers, then Councillor Roy DeClemente. Go ahead, Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to remind everyone of the public information session this afternoon from 5 until 7 regarding the revitalization of the Yonge Street stretch in Holland Landing, and that's held at the Holland Landing Community Centre.
Thank you. Councillor Crothers.
Thank you. Tonight also at 6:30, the Environmental Advisory Committee is having a presentation from York Region on the circular economy and waste reduction, and it's open to the public. You can look on it on the town's website or on social media for a link to come and watch that presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Roy DeClemente.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Two announcements. I'm not sure if Councillor Crone's going to cover it during his, but I wanted to congratulate our Chamber of Commerce on another successful Farm to Fork event. I understand that they put over 500 participants through the tour on Saturday. It was a glorious day weather-wise, so it was a huge success. And I just wanted to advise council that the Queensville Sharon Community Group were successful in holding a very modest event, but a very successful one at the same time. They were doing a great pumpkin giveaway and auctioning off some giant pumpkins. I wanted to particularly acknowledge the efforts of Tom Horsley, who had never done it before, but ended up growing pumpkins to the size that they required heavy equipment to move. And I don't know if you saw them outside the sports complex on Saturday morning, but they had set up a beautiful place for people to take pictures, and you got a free pumpkin with a donation to the food bank. So there's some cash that was raised for our community and several boxes of food, and they had about 150 to 200 people come through and take pictures and get a pumpkin. So a very well run event, very safely done. And again, congratulations to our community group. Thank you.
Thank you. Always fun to watch our community groups in action. Any other comments? Councillor Morton, did you have a comment?
No, Madam Mayor, other than the fact that at 11:30 this morning, which is where I have to get to, is that they will be redoing the needles and everything for the 1 and the 2. So if I can scoot out at a certain time, that's where I'm going.
Thank you very much. And that's a reminder to those that didn't hear the first part of our meeting that it is at the Mount Albert Legion from 11:30 to 11 to 6:30 today. So if you haven't got a vaccine and you want one, go and see Kathy today. Thank you. I'm not seeing any other updates at this point. Councillor Crone, did you have an update?
Well done to the chamber on the farm report.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any other announcements. I'll move along to item E, and that's COVID update. CAO Webster, you go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just be very brief at the outset. Today marks the second day that our municipal offices have been open to the public for customer service purposes, and we terminated our municipal emergency on October 3rd at 11:59 p.m. And we worked in conjunction with the town of Georgina, which was nice to see. I've been watching the local media and news, and they both acknowledged that both communities are not in a state of municipal emergency, but acknowledging that the public health emergency at the regional level continues. At this point in time, I'll pass it to Deputy CAO Mark Valchich, who heads the COVID recovery team, for any other pertinent updates on this important matter.
Thank you, Mr. Webster, and through you, Madam Mayor, good morning to Madam Mayor and members of council and the public. The memo itself, I think, is fairly self-explanatory and well written. There's a fair amount of information in there. In addition to what our CAO has indicated, effective yesterday, our east doors, the Civic Center, are unlocked, and so there's unscheduled access available now to the building. It's important to note that we have been for some time now offering 100% of our services on a virtual basis. We will continue to promote scheduled appointments in the spirit of ensuring we're optimizing service delivery. But it is nice. It is nice to see a few more people back in the building and to see that access opened up. So really delighted to see that. The other piece that I think is worth mentioning briefly in relation to this memo is related to access to our recreational facilities and programs. There's what's referred to as a letter of instruction that's been issued by the medical officer of health. It's interesting when you look at the regulations in relation to the Reopening Ontario Act. It's quite clear in there that advice, recommendations, and instruction from the regional Office of Public Health are enforceable in relation to the Reopening Ontario Act. So it provides a fair amount of authority to the local public health office and officials. So vaccination is really the subject matter that is covered by the letter of instruction. And it does require effective October 1st for anybody entering those facilities to be vaccinated. We've worked with the region staff late last week and had correspondence late last week in terms of some interpretation, appropriate interpretation of that implementation. And so just for clarity, effective October 1st, which would have been last Friday, in order to go into those facilities, proof of at least the first vaccination will be required. Full vaccination status will be required by November 1st moving forward, by whether that be folks that are there to participate in sports or whether it's coaches or just spectators and so on. So just wanted to clarify that point because I know that was an area that there was some sort of differing messages that seemed to be coming out late last week and over the weekend. So just wanted to make sure that was clear. And that's really all I have to provide as some supplementary context, Madam Mayor, and staff are happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you very much. Questions of Mr. Velchik? I'm not seeing any at this time. Could I have a mover and seconder for the resolution in front of us, please? Councillor Persuccini, Councillor Crone. Be it resolved that administration memorandum dated October 5th, 2021 entitled COVID-19 Update 2021-15 be received. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Valchik. We are under item F for deputations, and at this time we do not have any deputations. And we are now at presentations, and I know Wendy Kemp is here from the region. I haven't seen her yet, but I'm sure that she's here with us. She is the Director of Infrastructure Asset Management and T. Carrigan Master Plan Advisor, York Region, making a presentation to Council regarding the York Region Water and Wastewater Master Plan update. Welcome.
Good morning, and let's just check to see Tracy's got the slide deck up. Good stuff. Okay, so we'll get started. So good morning, Mayor Haxon and members of council. Thank you for providing this time for us to share this important planning initiative that is underway to address servicing requirements to meet growth needs to 2051. My name is Wendy Kemp, and I am the Acting Director of Infrastructure Asset Management and Environmental Services Department. And along with me today is Tracy Carrigan, our Master Plan Advisor for the Water Wastewater Master Plan. Tracy and I are here to provide you with the key highlights of York Region's draft water and wastewater infrastructure master plan that has been updated to align with the region's municipal comprehensive review. Just next slide. Our presentation today will cover 5 areas, and we'll give you an overview on how we are building on the 2016 master plan, the key growth-related infrastructure, a brief summary of engagement activities, and finally the next steps to complete the master plan update. Next slide. This work is very integrated with York Region's planning, finance, and transportation teams. As endorsed by Regional Council, we were instructed to ensure we keep the fiscal strategy front and center on all decisions relating to growth. The master plan supports a number of the regional growth management initiatives underway, including the Municipal Comprehensive Review to update the official plan. It also provides key inputs to the update of the region's development charge bylaw, which will be presented to the Regional Council in Q1 of 2022. The Water and Wastewater Master Plan update final report to Council is anticipated to land in Q1 of 2022. Next slide. The region has a long history of master planning that generally occurs in 5-year cycles. Each update reviews the previous plan and fine-tunes the results by updating population forecasts, infrastructure status, including completed projects, costs, and timing, and aligns with regulatory requirements. Federal and provincial legislation guides the development of the plan, and in particular for servicing within the Greenbelt, Oak Ridges Moraine, and the Lake Simcoe watershed. We also use the One Water principles of innovation, integration, and infrastructuring to encourage us to plan holistically. By seeking innovative solutions to complex problems, integrating the needs of asset management and operational constraints with the needs of growth, relying on successful outcomes of demand management programs like water conservation and inflow and infiltration reduction programs, and infrastructuring by using existing system to its fullest capacity. Just next slide, please. This updated master plan extends the planning horizon from 2041, as per the previous master plan, to 2051 to align with the growth forecast. We have used the March 2021 approved land needs assessment, recognizing that this is draft. After considerable consultation with all municipalities, the land needs assessment will be brought to Regional Council on October 21st. Pending outcomes of that meeting, we will address any changes that may arise. As directed by Regional Council, this plan assumes that the Upper York Water Reclamation Centre is in place to service growth in the communities of East Gwillimbury and portions of Newmarket and Aurora. And as you are fully aware, I'm sure, the York Region Wastewater Act was introduced by the province in June of 2021. If proclaimed as law, could prevent the Minister of Environment from making a decision on the environmental assessment for the Upper York sewage solutions, and also stop any legal action against the province related to this legislation. It was also announced that an expert panel would be convened to examine all options. This bill passed first reading on June 3rd, 2021. Depending on the timing and the type of decision by the province, a reevaluation of the water and wastewater infrastructure requirements could be required and would likely be addressed outside the time frame of this master plan. Tracy will now explain the details within the plan, including how it relates to your municipality.
Next slide, please. This master plan update continues to build on the existing servicing strategies that were recommended in the 2016 plan. These maps show the general direction that towns and cities in the region will receive drinking water supply and where they will discharge wastewater flows. To meet drinking water needs in 2051, the region will continue to rely on three main sources of water supply: from Lake Ontario sources within existing service agreements with the region of Peel and City of Toronto, continued use of local groundwater wells, and Lake Simcoe sources. For wastewater treatment, growth needs are met by assuming the Upper York solution is approved with the Water Reclamation Centre in place. Continued reliance on Lake Ontario treatment through agreements with Peel and Durham regions, and continued reliance on standalone systems. Next slide, please. To implement the recommended servicing strategies, the draft infrastructure plan was developed as seen on these maps. You can see the proposed phasing of future growth projects shown in green, yellow, and red, and it's overlaid on top of the existing servicing system. These maps provide a snapshot of the works planned across the entire region. I will dive into more detail for infrastructure servicing growth needs in East Gwillimbury in the next few slides. Regional infrastructure functions across local municipal boundaries to service York Region as a whole, and in most cases are not necessarily meant to service any single municipality. Next slide, please. Most of the projects from the 2016 master plan have been carried forward into the new draft plan with some minor adjustments. The projects identified in the first 10 years from 2021 to 2030 are consistent with the existing 10-year capital plan in place today. To address the additional decade of growth to 2051, this master plan includes an additional $1.4 billion of infrastructure. In total, $4.3 billion of growth-related water and wastewater infrastructure is needed to meet growth targets established through the MCR. I'll now explain the details within the plan as it relates to East Gwillimbury. So next slide, please. Drinking water will be provided to the communities of Holland Landing, Sharon, and Queensville by a combination of Lake Ontario and groundwater supply, much as things are today, with the addition of water supply from Lake Simcoe planned in the coming years. Long-term water supply secured through investments in continued cost-shared programs with Peel Region and City of Toronto for Lake Ontario. Groundwater wells, even though not funded by growth, continued investment in those wells so that we can continue to rely on them in the long term. Projects like the new Green Lane well and the groundwater treatment strategy will upgrade treatment systems to remove iron and other minerals. West Park Heights Pumping Station and Water Main project shown on this map on the top end will connect water from Lake Simcoe system to the York water system in East Gwillimbury. This connection is expected in the 2030s. The community of Mount Albert, excuse me, will continue to be serviced with drinking water by local groundwater wells. The Class EA for upgrades to the treatment systems at the Mount Albert wells was completed earlier this year. To support growth in Queensville, Sharon, and Holland Landing, a number of water mains, pumping stations, and elevated tanks are required. The water main on Green Lane will connect the new well to the rest of the system. This project, shown as W10 across Green Lane, also includes a section of water main on Leslie Street, north of Green Lane. Construction of these two water mains is to be staged, with phase 1 on Green Lane being available by 2030 and phase 2 on Leslie by 2040. Project W11 includes two elements. This is on Woodbine Avenue. Phase 1 is 8 kilometers on Woodbine Avenue that's available by approximately 2030. And phase 2 is a shorter section of water main shown on Queensville Side Road that will bring water supply to Holland Landing. In addition, there are 2 projects that will provide storage to the communities. A new storage facility in Holland Landing will be available by 2040, and a second elevated tank in Queensville by 2051 timeframe. Next slide, please. As previously mentioned, the Water Reclamation Center continues to be the key component of the wastewater servicing solution. This critical project will provide wastewater treatment capacity for growth in East Gwillimbury and will free up capacity in the YDSS for Aurora and Newmarket by transferring flows generated in East Gwillimbury and parts of Newmarket from the YDSS to the Water Reclamation Center. Decommissioning of the Holland Landing lagoons is also tied to completion of the Water Reclamation Center. The construction of the first phase of Water Reclamation Center will happen as soon as the region receives a provincial approval to proceed. As reflected in the capital plan now, that timing is about 2029 for completion. In the longer term, a phase 2 expansion is planned that is expected to be in service by approximately 2040. Future expansions of the Water Reclamation Center may be required post 2051. To support continued development until the Water Reclamation Center is in place, a number of interim solutions are underway. Work on the new Henderson sewage pumping station and upgrades to the Aurora pumping station, both in Aurora, are in progress, expected to be completed by 2023. The twinning of the Newmarket force main was recently completed, and inline storage in the Sharon trunk. In addition to the Water Reclamation Center and interim solutions, a new East Queensville sewage pumping station is needed by 2030, and upgrades to the Queensville Holland Landing Sharon pumping station by 2040 to direct flows to the WRC. In Mount Albert, the region is finalizing an optimization study that explored minor capital upgrades that could increase service population without increasing the rated capacity of the plant and triggering the need for a new Class EA. To inform further discussions, the conceptual level costs are under development, as well as coordination of water servicing capacity to support any increase in the wastewater capacity. Next slide, please. So that was the infrastructure plan, and now I want to talk just a little bit about what happens next. The master plan is just a plan that was created with the best available information and understanding. Assumptions need to be monitored over time. We expect to make updates and course corrections as things change or better information becomes available. The intent of the regional master plan is to provide direction, not necessarily a definitive outcome. The projects have been identified, will get implemented through the 10-year capital plan, which sets out sequencing of projects and programs over the 10-year period and allocates funding to actually be able to do the work. A review of the capital plan happens regularly. Project delivery is coordinated with system capacity monitoring and the fiscal strategy, completed concurrently with the annual budget process. To bridge the gap between long-term growth planning and near-term development pressures, the region monitors development activity and system capacity. This information is used to understand near-term infrastructure capacity against the expected system demands. Critical infrastructure is regularly monitored to view trends in actual usage and understand the impact of water conservation and inflow and infiltration reduction programs over time. All of this work together results in capacity assignments to local municipalities, which in turn are then allocated by municipalities to specific developments. Next slide, please. For many years now, the region has depended on a variety of demand management approaches to help stretch existing water and wastewater infrastructure. Many of these initiatives arose out of requirements under environmental approvals and have proven to be highly effective at managing demands on our regional systems. Both the long-term water conservation strategy and the inflow and infiltration reduction strategy have been updated this year and were submitted to the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Parks at the end of September. These updated strategies continue to build on the successes of the past while looking for increased collaboration with our local municipal partners as a single integrated system. In particular, The revised long-term water conservation strategy has an increased focus on non-revenue water, introducing new ways to calculate leakage and improve on flushing practices. The revised inflow and infiltration strategy establishes new targets for local municipalities to fix systems in high priority areas that are known problems based on our extensive digital monitoring network. These two demand management programs are important to help manage flows in the system and are integral in the long-range planning of water and wastewater infrastructure. Both the water conservation and inflow infiltration reduction programs influence capacity available. Monitoring of these programs helps us keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening with water consumption trends and a good sense of linear response to climate change through the I&I programs. Next slide, please. The master plan has been engaging with residents, local municipal staff, the development community, and Indigenous communities since 2019. The final public open house was completed in July of 2021. York Region has been meeting with East Gwillimbury staff on the project since 2019, and the draft infrastructure plan was shared with staff at a meeting on July 22nd. Their comments and feedback will inform the final report. Next slide, please. The next steps to complete the master plan update include completing presentations like this to all local municipalities until early in November. And then we will be providing the draft infrastructure plan to Regional Council in November. The final report will be prepared for council endorsement in Q1 2022, which will be followed by a statutory 30-day public review and public and agency review period. Next slide, please. Thank you for your time today, and Wendy and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. I have some questions, but I'll see if other members of council have questions as well. I'm not seeing it at the moment, so maybe I'll start with mine. Thank you very much, both Ms. Carrigan and also Ms. Kemp. Always good to have you here with us. Unfortunately, we talk about sewage and water a lot more than we should be, but it, as you know, is very important. Probably the most important item in York Region for East Gwillimbury. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the lagoons and how they fit into this plan, and I wondered if you could share any information with us on that as well.
Sure. Tracy, did you want to take that on because it's in the master plan?
Yeah, I can start that for sure. So the permits for the lagoons will eventually be transferred to the Water Reclamation Center. And they are servicing, as you know, the community of Holland Landing right now. So those will stay in place until there is an alternative, until the Water Reclamation Center is in place. So that is why they are tied directly to the timing for that Water Reclamation Center completion.
We were certainly hoping something very different. 44 years is a long time for a community to put up with it. And while we hear that it is safe and working just fine, a drive past some days would tell us something just a little bit different. So I know that you're well aware that we have a lot of pressure from our community with the lagoons, and I would urge you, if there's an opportunity, to find some creative solution to make a difference for us, that at least would come back and to us and see if by chance there's something that we can do. It's probably number one on the list, particularly for Holland Landing residents. The other question that I had was regarding Mount Albert, and I know that you were talking about some water studies to remove iron and other minerals from the water there, and I speak, I'm sure, on behalf of both Councillor Crone and Councillor Morton when I say that I think the biggest issue that we have in Mount Albert right now is the quality of water. And while the tests tell us that it's safe and it's good, when people turn on their taps and it's yellow, we all know that we we have a lot of iron in the ground, in our groundwater, but I'm just wondering if there's any thought about how to change the aesthetics of that water for our community, because it's softeners and a variety of other things that they go through much quicker than anywhere else, and many times turn their tap on and the water is brown, yellow, which doesn't really work for most people. So I wondered if you could comment on that as well, please.
Yeah, sure. Maybe I'll start, and then Tracy, if you have anything further to add. So through you, Madam Mayor, the groundwater treatment strategy is quite a significant project for the region. It's actually all of our groundwater systems are under examination to evaluate a different treatment practice that will remove the iron and other minerals within at the point of intake, and then that should address a lot of the concerns that have come up. That EA was, I believe, just completed this year and is underway. So we have over $150 million dedicated to that groundwater treatment strategy, not just for Mount Albert, but for the full region, and would anticipate that project would move forward. I'm not sure, Tracy, if you had anything further to add.
No, nothing further than that.
Thank you. I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to do some messaging out to the community. Anybody that has a well in East Gwillimbury knows that there's a lot of iron. I'm on a well, and my filters I change monthly, and if I don't, it tells me I need to. And I think that a lot of people, particularly moving into some of the new homes, haven't dealt with this before, and so when they turn their tap and the water is brown, they're the least to say unhappy with what they're seeing. And is there an opportunity to do some messaging, maybe it's an evening of come and we can talk about your water, something that will allow particularly the newer residents to understand that the water is safe, it's clean, and it's fine to drink and fine to use for showering and cooking and whatever. However, I just leave that thought with you. Is there an opportunity?
Sure, it's through you, Madam Mayor. We can work with the town staff to try to organize some kind of event like that. It's we did have the open house. We actually held it within the arena in East Gwillimbury, and had that opportunity to talk to some people about well water. So we're happy, to support any initiative like that would help.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much. Members of council, Councillor Foster, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thanks for the presentation. And I'm not sure that I expect you to have an answer for me, but some time ago during a presentation to council by region staff, we had asked if there are any new protocols, procedures that might make the lagoons in Holland Landing work a little bit more efficiently. And we understood at the time that actually for the system that's there, they were working rather well. But I'm just wondering if we could get something sent back to us that kind of answers that. I mean, is there anything different that can be done that makes it better? Although I shudder to make it better because it will probably last longer, but I think we're stuck with it for a little while. So any improvements would certainly be appreciated.
Sure, through you, Madam Mayor, we do have, that is a concern for us as well. We're looking at alternative treatment practices to see if there's some pre-treatment that we can do to the lagoons to help support and keep the odors down. It is old technology, as you're quite well aware of, and we have a solution that we would love to move forward with. If we could get the province to move faster, that would be really great. But in the interim, we are, looking at operational practices and other opportunities to try to optimize and deal with the odor issues. So,
thank you. Any other questions, comments? Councillor Roy DeClemente, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had three, and I'll start with one, and that was just that it appears to me that while this is a very fulsome and comprehensive report, and I appreciate you breaking out the projects that relate specifically to East Gwillimbury, it seems to me that one of your major planning assumptions is that the UISS will go ahead. And I'm just wondering if you've got a contingency in place to address that risk. Quite honestly, that it's a rather large risk from what we've been hearing, that UISS will not become a reality, and that becomes a linchpin in a master plan that you've built that assumption around it. Do you have a contingency in place?
Wendy, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. Through you, Madam Mayor, we do not have a plan B. The plan is to deal with the province and obtain either some direction from them in terms of how to deal with the growth plan that has been there since, several decades in the provincial growth plan to grow this area. So we have had this project on the books, started in 2009, submitted in 2014. So it's unprecedented amount of time to wait for some direction from the province. And so we are hopeful that through the next series of direction from the province that we'll be able to move forward with some kind of direction from the province. So at this point in time, we're operating under, this project is in our capital plan. It's in our 10-year plan. It's slotted for 2029. Sorry, did I get that year right? 2029. Yes. And so that's where we're at right now. Should we get a different direction, we will go. We'll have to move with that with the master plan, but we have to work with the information we have current today.
Thank you for that, Ms. Kemp. And through you, Madam Mayor, my second question sort of related, I guess it's part of that planning assumption, but this was the first time that I had heard the use of Lake Simcoe as a supply for drinking water for York Region. My understanding had always been that it was either a combination of Lake Ontario or very deep aquifers that we were tapping into. The use of Lake Simcoe water is a new development for me, and I was concerned about, the whole premise of UISS was trying to overcome the challenges of intrabasin transfer, and it seems to me that if we were drawing drinking water from Lake Simcoe and using it and sending it to be treated south of the watershed, that was kind of a big no-no. Has something changed with respect to that?
I can take that, Wendy.
Sure.
Through you, Madam Mayor. The alternative to add the Lake Simcoe water supply into East Gwillimbury, into the north end of the York water system, was identified in the 2016 master plan. It's a small percentage of water just to supplement the existing or the Lake Ontario supply and the groundwater supply. It is required in the later years, so not imminent. And it does actually benefit the intrabasin transfer by, if the Upper York solution is in place, sending water to the north. You are correct. If there is a change, we will have to look at both water and wastewater systems together to make sure that the intrabasin transfer is kept to the allowable limits. There are great impacts through both systems if there is a change from the Upper York solution to something different.
Thank you for that. I think that nuance is certainly not lost on us. Slightly different tack. Our council has, and our water staff have spent quite a bit of effort in dealing with non-revenue water and water loss projects. Your presentation addresses it sort of at a very high level. Can you, just for comparison's sake, give us an idea of what percentage the region has to deal with as far as non-water revenue? So, can you quantify a percent or a sense of how much the region itself is also losing?
It's a good question. Through you, Madam Mayor. I'm not sure I have a percent. I don't have that information at the top of my mind today. It is something that is in our long-term water conservation strategy that I'd have to double check and determine what that was. But at this point, I don't have that specific number. But we are interested in working with the local municipalities on non-revenue water. The American Waterworks Association has come out with a new way to calculate non-revenue water. We also have a couple projects to look at, different engineering opportunities in those areas that we know have high flushing activities and other needs. So,
Thanks very much.
I wonder if you could put that one aside for us, and should you have that information at a later date, send it through our staff perhaps, and they can present it to council at the
absolutely.
appropriate. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Carruthers, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the really thorough presentation. It was very helpful in informing us and any public who may be watching. I'm not sure if you covered this and I missed it, but how many units are left in the current system, the York-Durham system?
The full York-Durham system, or like the YDSS, or are you just saying for your town?
For our town, yeah.
Okay, so for East Gwillimbury, the available capacity was just reported to Regional Council this past September. You have 10,249 persons available, and that is based on how we track it, which is on registration, because we want to know when it's actually flowing down the pipe, when people are actually flushing toilets. So I know your planning folks may want to, will report it differently, and that's because they're dealing with the planning applications up front. So that 10,249 persons will take you about 5 years of capacity. In the report in September, we also requested from council authority to issue additional capacity to East Gwillimbury, and so that was for your centers and corridors, an additional, we're splitting it between the 3 municipalities, so it's 333 persons, and that will become fully available when the Henderson pumping station is completed in 2023. We also have been working on a Sharon interim solution, and that's interim to the Upper York servicing solution being in place, and that was up to 850 persons. So a couple, I know it's trickle capacity, but it's at least something until we can move forward with the plan.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And how many units does the lagoons serve? I believe it's about 4,000 persons, is that correct?
Yes, you are correct.
Right, so I just wanted to echo the mayor's comments about the lagoons, that it is a huge problem for our residents. It is old technology. It smells. Living next to a big sewage pit is not how we picture East Gwillimbury, right? So I guess I get concerned when I hear about the certificate, because I understand why they need to have the certificate and transfer to whatever the new sewage solution is, but it's paperwork, and at the stroke of a pen, governments can change those types of qualifications if there's enough pressure. So I feel like sometimes we throw up our hands and say, well, it's the certificate, we have to hold on to the certificate, there's nothing we can do. But we have open sewage lagoons in going into 2022, and with no plans to close them in the next 5 to 10 years, or 5 to, you said 2029, I believe, would be the earliest that we would be seeing those closed. And I just think that we need to put a little bit more pressure on to say that this is a priority, and not just throw up our hands and say nothing we can do because of the paperwork. It doesn't fly with the residents. When we're talking with those residents, saying, well, it's a certificate that has to be held on to, is pretty thin. When I see that there's capacity in the pipe and with little bits more coming on here and there, I want to make this a priority, and I don't want to hear the excuse about the certificate. I think that there's ways to work around that by putting pressure on our provincial government to waive those type of paperwork constrictions that are keeping these outdated lagoons open. So I just hope that we can put a little bit more pressure on that and not just accept that as written. And I don't know, maybe you have already, but I think that's something that is very important to our residents here. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Councillor Crone, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you to representatives. I wanted to ask a question, and I appreciate the point that Councillor Roy DeClemente raised about the, a lot of things are predicated on Upper York going through, and we haven't received an answer back yet, and we have so much allocation. Councillor Brothers has queried. So my concern is, do you foresee a point where the time between our available allocation and the decision being made on a water and wastewater solution, is there going to be an interim period in between decision and allocation availability that we may have to halt, development because we just don't have the available allocation? Do you foresee that happening? Because it takes, if we pulled the trigger on Upper York tomorrow, there would be a delay in building it out. So I'm concerned, are we going to come to a standstill here in East Gwillimbury where, I don't think anyone's saying that we put our foot heavy down on the accelerator to develop, but development does bring development charges to help pay for parks and libraries and all sorts of good things. But I'm worried that we're going to come to a standstill. Do you foresee that happening under the current situation?
So through you, Madam Mayor, we're worried too. I think everyone is thinking the same things. As I said, it was submitted in 2014, so quite some time waiting for a decision from the province. And we have again reiterated in the last report that went to council in September, again, how growth targets are at risk as a result of the delays from the Upper York. So we continue to advocate and raise the importance and the connection to the growth plan, the provincial growth plan, to the need for this plant. So I think we share your concern and are worried as well. And so, we are doing the best we can, looking at interim solutions. Is there alternative ways of dealing with sewage in a different way? We need treatment in this area to grow, and we need it either in the south or in the north. So we really need to kind of make a decision on that. And so unfortunately, it's not in our hands. We've presented a solution through quite an extensive amount of research and scientific analysis, and we're hoping that there's a decision coming down the pipe, no pun intended. So
Thank you. Mr. Webster, you had a comment or question?
I have a comment, actually, Madam Mayor, if I may, and I welcome my regional colleagues here today who work closely with us. I also was going to comment at the conclusion of this on our official plan update and council's request regarding inclusion of the White Belt lands as well. But at this point, I think it's fair enough to comment that there's some very consistent messages this council's put forward. Number one is decommissioning the lagoons as a priority, and that's been put forward by every term of council for many, many years. The second one is with regards to the importance of the Upper York, and Councillor Crone asks a very good question. One other thing that has been consistent is, and unfortunately with Ms. Kemp and our regional colleagues, is whenever they do come into our chambers, be it virtually or in person, the deadline, that we get a new date. 2029 is now a new date to myself, because I've seen it go from the initial time when we went through the back in the day under a different cast of characters and cast of staff, was this plant was to be commissioned in 2018. And then that became 2020 and 22, and most recently it's been 26, 27, and today Ms. Kemp has put up forward 2029. And one thing I can assure you our staff team is doing is, in a typical municipal environment, the issuance of debt is not a concern, because the debt issuance is based on growth coming in future growth for a lot of the facilities. I point out that we just completed our largest municipal build, $22 million operations center, without the use of any debt. And we are bringing forward in coming council sessions our Healthy Active Living Plaza, which is a significant community facility. It's needed at this point in time, and it's needed as we approach 50,000. And believe me, our funding strategy is to avoid the issuance of debt. And if there is going to be a slowdown or a delay, one thing to point out, and I see me and Councillor Persicini always proudly display our EG logo. It impacts Northern York Region. There won't be just a slowdown in East Gwillimbury. I can assure you both Newmarket and Aurora are in the same boat as us. And I don't know if their councils have attuned to this quite yet, but there could be a significant growth slowdown in all three communities because we're currently using the last YDSS capacity that's available, and we're using it very carefully and strategically. You know, come a point of 27, 28, there could be some very lean years unless the province pays attention and expedites the approval and gets this piece of infrastructure, this critical element of infrastructure, moving along in one way or the other. And I think that's the thing we're hearing now is we need some form of decision to give some certainty to all of us. So a little bit of a long answer, but you know, there are concerns, and I think it's across Northern York Region. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Webster. Other questions, comments? Councillor Crone, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, I should have asked this previously, but through you to our presenters. I just want to reinforce what the mayor said earlier, that the treatment of the water quality in Mount Albert is a high priority for myself and I'm sure the mayor and Councillor Morton. Do you have a sense of how soon we can see improvements on the aesthetics of the water? Because you know I hear about it routinely from our residents, and our water is very high, the price, and you know when you pay a top dollar for something, you expect the quality to be premium as well. So I was just wondering, what can we do to hurry that along? Because I think the residents would really appreciate it.
Maybe I'll start first, and if Tracy has anything further to add. So through you, Madam Mayor, I did mention that the Mount Albert EA was completed this year, and so it'll go quickly into design and then into construction from there. I don't have the exact timing of when that is in our capital plan, but it is in our 10-year capital plan for that project to go forward. And so I would assume that that's, you know, moving through the normal practice of construction through our capital delivery. So Tracy, I'm not sure if you have those specific dates of when the design and construction.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm sorry, I do not have those actual dates. We can pull that out for you though and send that along.
Thank you. That would be very much appreciated. If you send it along, then we can disperse it to all members of council. But I think it's really important, particularly for the councillors in the Mount Albert area, to have an understanding of when it will change or when it is going to be dealt with. At this point now, it's just in the future. So if we can define it, then that would be great. Thank you very much. Any other questions, comments? I'm not seeing any others. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you so much, Ms. Carrigan. Wonderful to have you with us today. I know sometimes we're a group of that drill you a little bit, but appreciate very much your time and the effort that you have put into getting the statistics for us. It's really important to get this out to our community, and they understand the challenges and rewards that we have as members of council. So thank you very much. Have a great day. And could I have a mover and a seconder for the presentation, please? Councillor Persicini, Councillor Foster. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Moving along in our agenda, I have adoption for the council minutes from September 15th, the special meeting for September 21st, and the council minutes from the meeting on September 21st. I'm going to group them unless somebody wants to separate them out. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Crone, Councillor Roy DeClemente. Is that a cat on your lap? All those in favor?
He's upset because everybody went to school, so he's really lonely, and he was clawing at the door. So I've just let him in. Hope it's okay.
It's perfect. Thank you. We all need a little humor during the day for sure, particularly when we're sitting on these meetings by the hour. Thank you. That was passed. Thank you very much. We're down to item I, and that's emergency and community safety services. And at this time, I would ask our chief to come forward. Thank you. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, Your Honor, and good morning to you and members of council. The first item on the agenda for ECSS highlights one of our partnerships that we've developed as we work with the community to get the fire and life safety message out. But before we go into that, what I'd like to do is thank you for announcing in the community announcements about the Fire Prevention Week and the fact that we're having an open house tomorrow at the Station 28 there in Queensville, 1590 Queensville Side Road. This year's theme for Fire Prevention Week is Learn the Sounds of Fire Safety. And that, of course, deals with the noises that come out of your smoke alarm and CO alarm. So as we move forward with this item, what I'd like to do is introduce Brandon Wright. Brandon is one of our paid-on-call firefighters in Holland Landing. And when Nicole Sprague, our community educator, went on mat leave, Brandon stepped up and accepted the contract. So what I'd like to do is just turn it over to Brandon to carry on this presentation. But a fun fact about Brandon is his grandfather, Ken Ballar, was a long time firefighter here in Holland Landing too. So there's a bit of a family tradition there. So over to you, Brandon.
Thank you, Chief McKenzie. Good morning, Madam Mayor and Council. If we're able to please put up the pictures that we have today. Thank you. East Wollombury Emergency and Community Safety Services is always looking for new opportunities to help make our community safer. We follow the Ontario Fire Marshal's 3 lines of defense. With the first line of defense being education, we're always looking for different ways to incorporate this within the municipality. Ways we can do this is through events, programs, services, as well as creating partnerships. ECSS has many partners, and we've recently collaborated with Tiny Seedlings, who are a community-based initiative geared towards, or a community-based initiative designed specifically for children and families through United Soils. And our partnership between Tiny Seedlings and ECSS has already been able to educate the residents of East Wollombury about fire and life safety. If you're able to please switch to the next picture. Recently, Tiny Seedlings has supported us by our education programs by providing fun graphics and educational messaging for a fire safety trailer that you see in the picture here. This has been well represented throughout our community and been a great conversation starter. And I'm sure many of you have seen it at many of our events throughout this year. And just to name a few events that it's been at, as weekly at our East Wollombury Farmers Markets, our outdoor movie nights, our HG summer camps, and our ice cream nights. We've also done our trailer hide and seek program. If you can please switch to the next picture. Since this is so well represented within the community, we were always looking for ways to help improve this. And we thought a vehicle would be a great addition to help support it and tow it and to be as a public education team. So we brought this idea forward to Tiny Seedlings, and they were on board and loved the idea. With having a strong partnership, they went out and they were very gracious and gifted us this community education vehicle that you see here in the pictures. We're very excited to have received this now, and we're excited to put it to use. We wanted this to represent the trailer and represent our partnership between us and Tiny Seedlings. So we have both the ECSS logo on the side of the vehicle and the Tiny Seedlings logo. We also, on the rear of the vehicle, have both the Town of East Gwillimbury's website and Tiny Seedlings website links so that residents are able to look them up and find about programs and services. We wanted it to represent the trailer, so we incorporated the Tiny Seedlings people on the side of the vehicle, dressed in bunker gear to represent this is a fire vehicle. And it says in big letters, community education vehicle, which represents that it's geared specifically for public education, and it's going to be part of our fire education team. We're very excited to add this to our fleet and see the opportunities that it will bring in the future. If you please switch to the next picture. And public education and fire prevention is improved by strong partnerships. And partnerships are geared towards the same common goal of providing fire and life safety to the residents. And Tiny Seedlings has been a big help in us being able to do that. And we're very thankful to have them as our partners. I would like to thank Shanna Daniels and Darlene Shaw from Tiny Seedlings who are here today in their support and commitment to keeping our community safe. If you could please switch to the next picture. And I would like to now open up the floor to the both of them to be able to say a few words about this very exciting opportunity that we've received.
Thank you, Brandon. Shannon, are you there?
I am.
And Darlene?
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for having us back once again. Also to the folks at ECSS. As avid supporters of public education and fire prevention, it was a natural step for Tiny Seedlings to lend our support to the team from EG Fire. The services and education provided are essential to the community, and we couldn't be prouder to help foster this. As our membership and relationship with the EG community grows, we hope to explore more opportunities that promote fire safety and prevention. We know these messages, programs, and initiatives truly make a difference to residents of all ages. We've worked with Chief McKenzie and his team several times on various campaigns, and it's always been a pleasure. The professionalism of this group and the drive to ensure they go above and beyond will definitely bring us back to support their efforts again and again. I'm going to hand you over to Shannon now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Darlene. Good morning. As two mothers proudly raising children of our own, we continue to recognize that safety starts at home. We firmly believe that the liaison between the fire department and safety education is paramount through a child's stages of development and maturity. Making a notable mention to pandemic school closures over the last year and a half, it would be fair to say that fire safety education previously facilitated through our schools has been slim to none. With vital connections like this one, tying real-life street smarts to families engaging in proactive conversations at home, we are delighted to have Tiny Seedlings involved in this dialogue. Once again, to be part of bringing community, education, fun full circle with East Gwillimbury's emergency and community safety services is an asset to always stand behind. We thank you for this opportunity to work with you as a team in engaging families across the community. Thank you to Chief McKenzie and his superb team who continue to shine in being leaders in fire safety, messaging that voice across your community and friendly neighboring ones. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and for your support towards our endeavors with your growing family-centric community in East Gwillimbury.
Thanks.
Well, thank you very much, ladies. It's quite remarkable that we have the trailer and the van in front of us today. Please thank your leader for his generosity into our community. I've watched the trailer all summer at the farmers market, and the amount of children that are there, and I'll go back to Brandon. My goodness, they're never standing alone. There's always children there, and your staff are so good at making sure that when those children leave the trailer, they understand the important message of the safety. So I've watched it all summer, and it's really amazing from little toddlers to children that are 12 and 14 years old. So thank you ever so much for all the work that Tiny Seedlings has done in our community, and we really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Now, Brandon, yes, your grandpa really would be proud to see you and how you've grown into this job. I'm delighted to see you working with the kids as well, not just at the farmers market, but at other opportunities as well. Keep up the great work. That's wonderful. Any questions from members of council? I'm not seeing any. Chief, did you have any comments at all?
No, Your Honor, no comments, but I see that Councillor Foster had his hand up there momentarily.
I saw him. He put it up just as I was changing screens here. Go ahead, Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just more of a comment than anything. It's nice to see that the school program is supported the way that it should be. And I certainly remember back some 30 plus years ago when the school programs nicely got started both in East Gwillimbury and other municipalities. And the work that was done then was great, and the work that's done now is even better. Thank you.
You're not that old, are you?
No, not at all.
Any other questions or comments? With that, could I have a motion to receive, please? Councillor Roy DiClemente, Councillor Foster, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Appreciate your presentation today. Have a great day. We do have a second report from Emergency and Community Safety Services. Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you again, Your Honor. When we talk about partnerships here, this is another opportunity. In August, the province opened intake number 3 under the Municipal Modernization Program, with small and rural municipalities receiving notice just this past August. The funding, if approved, provides the opportunity for municipalities to undertake reviews of their services to find efficiencies and any potential cost savings. This third intake provides opportunities for East Gwillimbury to partner with Georgina to apply jointly and study the 2 fire departments. The goal is to discover any modernization and efficiencies that may be found with each service, but it also provides an opportunity to see if both communities would be better served by consolidating a fire service. So I'm happy to take any questions. We're just going through the application process, which has to be submitted by October 19th, and we won't hear of any grant funding approvals until January of 2022. So in a nutshell, that's the review of the memo. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Chief. Questions of the Chief. Councillor Roy DiClemente, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not so much a question as just a comment. I think it's important that we stress that at this point that we're just looking for some grant money to look at the service delivery and hopefully find some efficiencies, but we're not making any decisions at this time. This is really just money to study the issue. And I'm happy to support that. I was going to suggest, and I've sent a note to the clerk, I was going to suggest an additional clause be added to our resolution. That not only do we receive it, but that council approves the grant application in support of the joint service review and directs staff to report back on the success of the application with a work plan for the project.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you. Questions, comments? I'm not seeing any. Could I have a mover? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Foster. It's in front of you. Any questions? All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chief. We look forward to seeing that come back, and it is always good to be looking at efficiencies with other municipalities. I know sometimes the other municipalities or ourselves are there at times of trouble. And so it's nice to be able to have it on paper when times are calm to understand to understand where they can help us in a time of need without having to get on the phone, so to speak. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Was there anything else, Chief, that you wanted to cover?
Thank you, Your Honor. Nothing else on the agenda, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any other questions of the Chief? Seeing none, I will move along to item J, and that is legal and counsel support services.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one item on the agenda today, and that's the 2022 proposed meeting schedule for your consideration. At this point, I'd ask Madam Clerk to walk you through the report and give you some highlights, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Through you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to obtain Council's endorsement of the 2022 meeting schedule and the proposed dates for the 2023 business plan and budget deliberation. That is attached as Appendix A to the report. As Council may recall, at the September 8th Council meeting, it was recommended that electronic Council meetings continue until essentially provincial health and safety requirements permit the Council chambers to be open in a manner that does not require significant adjustments to facilities or significant use of personal protective equipment. To this effect, it is recommended that Council consider continuation of electronic Council meetings for the balance of 2021. As the fourth wave of the COVID-19 pandemic persists, staff will provide further updates with respect to a phased approach to in-person return to the chambers in 2022. Additionally, this report outlines a restricted acts after nomination day in a municipal election year as provided by Section 275 of the Municipal Act. Through you, Madam Mayor, staff would like to point to a couple of technical amendments to page 5 of the report, and I'm going to just quickly bring it up because it's easier to explain on the screen before you. So firstly, in determining the 75% of the membership of Council, for a Council size of 7 members, the exact number is 5.25. However, recognizing that a quarter does not consider whole of an individual, staff is recommending that the number be revised from 5 to 6. So that's highlighted right here as well as here. Additionally, after a very careful review of various scenarios and situations that places Council in a lame duck position, staff is also recommending changing the statement of 5 or more members to 2 or more. This change accurately reflects all of the various scenarios that would place Council in a lame duck position. At this time, this brings me to the end of the overview of the report, and I'm happy to take any questions or take any comments at this time.
Questions of the clerk? I'm not seeing, oh, I am seeing. Yes, Councillor Crothers, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for this very thorough report. I love reports like this that bring the details. On page 3 of the report, it talked about council ward meetings, and I saw that and it made me think that, we keep waiting to open up again, and I think it might be time to do another virtual, because I think it's going to be a while before we're meeting in person again. So if that is one of our strategies, I think we've only had one in the last almost 2 years. So it'd be nice to be looking at doing that again. And then my other comment was just on the separate calendar for faith days, significant faith days. And I went over the council meeting schedule, and I'm very happy to see that we've tried to avoid some of the problems in the past of having it on high holidays. So thank you for that. I'm just wondering if that separate calendar of faith days will be published somewhere so that we can avoid having things like ward meetings or any type of public open house on those days, and just how that will be utilized.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I believe I can refer that to Meera Gandhi, our Director of Communications and Customer Service. She will be able to further outline the plan of how that's going to be released.
Thanks.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. We are putting together a calendar. There is an organization called the Canadian Centre for Diversity and Inclusion. We're looking to them for guidance, as well as through the Municipal Diversity and Inclusion Group and a community of practice that actually we've established through York Region on diversity and inclusion to create a calendar, and we will be looking to publish that on our website. Our plan is to go to sources of credibility to have information that we can make sure is correct.
Thank you. It can be tricky knowing which ones are significant and which ones are not. My question is more around how will we make sure that every department is aware not to be holding public open houses or those types of meetings on significant faith days? What will be the process?
Through you, Madam Mayor, what we would do is certainly make our senior management team aware of the information and ask that they refer to that calendar as well as to the council calendar before any public information centers or open houses are scheduled.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Councillor Crone, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you to Madam Clerk. I just wanted to thank you for the work you've done on this, especially the meeting schedule. I think you've done a nice job of balancing evenings and day meetings that gives citizens a chance to view our proceedings. And I know I spoke a bit about this last year, and I'm really happy to see that you listened and heard me. So I appreciate that. As well, I know the inauguration you have planned for the next term is November 15th. The election day is October 24th. And I know that's set out by provincial standards. Will you and your team have enough time to get the inauguration ready within that period of time once all the ballots are counted and get us all sworn in if we should be so lucky to be reelected?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that's an excellent question. We are working internally to put together an election staff working group, and individuals will be assigned various different tasks, one of which is going to be focusing on the planning of the inaugural meeting itself. So we will make sure that we're adequately resourced to ensure that that is going to be taking an effect on November 15th.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Councillor Roy DeClemente, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's going to come as no surprise to anyone here that I'm still going to be advocating for evening meetings. While I know we've made some progress in having more evening meetings, which creates some accessibility for our residents who work during the day. But I don't think we're going far enough. I feel strongly that our meetings should be held in the evening so that somebody who wants to be part of the democratic process and who wants to run for council can do so and also hold down full-time employment. At this point, it is virtually impossible for a candidate to work a traditional 9-to-5 job and also be able to serve as a municipally elected official in the town of East Gwillimbury. And I don't think that that's appropriate, frankly. And so it is by no disrespect whatsoever to the work that Madam Clerk, you have done in this report, but I won't be supporting the schedule simply because I feel that we should be having exclusively evening meetings, and it's not anything to do with the quality or the caliber of the material that's been presented to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments, questions? I'm not seeing any at this time. Just wondering, could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Carruthers, Councillor Persicini, all those in favor? And that's carried. We are at item K for finance. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll say what we normally say. Nothing further to add, Madam Mayor, but I'm very happy to take any questions.
I think I was hearing that before you said
You'd already heard it.
it. Members of council, any questions for our solicitor? Seeing none, we'll move along to finance. At this time, we don't have any reports, but we have our finance people available for us. Any questions about finance? Any message that finance has for us?
Good morning, Madam Mayor and members of council. I have nothing to add at this time, but happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. I'm not seeing any questions at this time. Thank you. We'll move along to administration. Mr. Webster.
Nothing to add at this time, Madam Mayor, but I would like to just provide a comment on our understated treasurer that his team has been working very, very diligently on putting together the budget in accordance with council direction, which will be presented at our evening session this month. So we're looking forward to bringing forward a very responsible budget that continues to provide great services and programs for our community.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any other questions. I'll move along to item M. Perhaps I should have a mover and a seconder for the information received from our CAO. Councillor Persicini, Councillor Crone, all those in favor? That's carried. Item M is corporate services. Thank you. Do you have any items for us at this point, Mr. Velchik?
Nothing at this point. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do we have anything from members of council? Seeing none, we will move along to our next item. I'm not seeing anything else at this point. We'll move to item M, and that is Community Parks, Recreation and Culture. Mr. Karmazin, go ahead, please.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. No prepared agenda items today, but however, I do have a couple of brief updates. The first update that we have for council today is our Civic Center Customer Service Center. We are preparing to tender the project in an effort to complete construction of the project for Q1 2022. I would ask that clerks provide a picture of the rendering for council and the public. Staff will be coordinating and scheduling construction to minimize any form of service disruption, considering the customer service center is currently open and providing service to the public. The project has achieved grant funding in the amount of $75,000, and we are seeking to utilize that grant funding with the project. Happy to answer any questions related to this verbal update.
Thank you. Questions? Councillor Roy DiClemente, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just anticipating some inquiries from the public. Do we have an answer prepared for when they inevitably ask us, why didn't you do this while the Civic Center was closed?
Mr. Karmazin?
Through you, Madam Mayor, it's simply timing. While we were closed, we were in the process of designing the project and determining what the layout would be. In addition to the design, we also have to look at the existing services, in particular structural, mechanical, and electrical services. So quite a bit of background work was done with the design, and as well as the public consultation with regards to meeting with council and the various staff members that had input into the project. So albeit we weren't constructing, we were behind the scenes working very diligently to design the project.
Thank you very much. The $75,000 in grant funding, do you anticipate that will be sufficient to cover off the project, to complete the project, or will you require additional funding?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we will be tendering the project, and that is our best way of determining what the actual cost will be. We have seen significant cost pressures due to COVID-19 with supply chain management for supplies and materials and equipment, and also labor. So our hope is that we do in the off season get some good fair market pricing, but we will be reporting back to council on the dollar value, and we do also have alternate funding sources that we could put forward to have the project move forward in conjunction with the grant funding if needed. So we're kind of in a holding pattern right now until we get the results back of the tender.
Mr. Karmazin, I'm always concerned about the safety of our staff in the building. Has there been a full evaluation done? Not necessarily, or I assume has been done at the front door, but I'm wondering about other offices as well, that their times are a little different these days, and I'm just wondering if there's been an assessment on our offices that may be somewhat in behind the scenes, but sometime are very open to the public.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we do routine assessments for safety, security, loss prevention. We did formal audit through Emergency Community and Safety Services in conjunction with them. And we also have worked very closely with York Regional Police and have had assessments with YRP and public staff information sessions on, for example, the Run, Hide, and Defend program. So we do actively update our staff training and audit of the of our facilities and the safety of our staff.
Thank you. And is that done on a regular basis, or is it has it been performed now and a year from now it would be checked, or is it kind of a checkbox and we think we're good to go right now?
Well, we do routine inspections, in particular with our Occupational Health and Safety Act. We're mandated to do monthly inspections, and staff safety is paramount, and that would fall under those inspections as well.
Thank you very much. And I'm assuming that staff would also report to our town hall staff would express concerns should they have it and not wait for some kind of an assessment.
Through you, Madam Mayor, absolutely. We're always available and are and continue to receive, staff input with regards to how all of our facilities operate.
Thank you. Questions, Mr. Karmazin? I'm not seeing any questions. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please?
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Morton and Councillor Persichini. All those in favor? And that's carried. I'm going to go back now. We move the discussion regarding the renovations for the loft, the $50,000 to undertake the renovations of the loft. After the discussion or the input from our CAO, Mr. Webster, that we are in a position of being able to do that sooner than later. I guess for me, the main concern is that I know that the renovations take some time, and all of us know that doing any renovations these days, there's many weeks before anybody ever shows up to the door to make it happen. So the sooner we get it done, and if we can get it finished before 2022, then all the better. So I'm wondering, first off, if I could have a mover and a seconder. Councillor
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Morton and Councillor Persichini, to move it forward. All those in, Councillor DWQMS.
What are we moving? What are we voting on?
Just accepting this so far. So if you want to have a discussion now, now's the time.
Okay, so we're going to we're discussing the.
Yes. Yes.
So we're moving forward to discuss it. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Correct. Yes. All those in favor of moving forward to discuss it. Thank you. Okay, that's carried. So discussion. Comments, questions? Councillor Crone, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I put this through to staff, and I think what was discussed earlier at the beginning of the meeting, that there was we had the room in the budget to accommodate this, and I think it makes sense to move ahead with this. And I want to be supportive of this initiative. I just want to understand, though, that we still have lots of wiggle room left in our budget if some other emergency should come up. We're not strapped for cash.
I don't believe we are. We seem to be well planned towards the end of this year, but perhaps I could ask our finance people just to answer your query.
Yeah, certainly. Through you, Madam Mayor. We have done a review of our where we have were replaced at mid-year and at the third quarter mark, and we do have some room available in the budget to accommodate some other things if necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Appreciate it. Other questions or comments? Councillor Persichini, go ahead, please.
As I said before, and I'll say it again, I'm hoping that our colleagues will support this because this is a good thing for the 55 and over. And maybe we should look at, as someone said, what about Mount Albert and Howell Landing? They can all be utilized, that area, and everybody will benefit of it. That's it.
Thank you. Councillor Morton, you had a comment, question?
I did, Madam Mayor. I can understand going ahead with this because the seniors in Mount Albert, they have also mentioned to me a few years ago that there wasn't the room where they were before, and people were going off in different areas. So I think it's great that we should be working on this, and I feel that we have the money as well in anything we've been told in the last little while.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Councillor Roy DeClemente, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've had the opportunity to go back to the report that was presented to us on September 8th, so approximately a month ago. That report quoted a $40,000 expenditure, and now we're seeing a $10,000 increase in the space of a month. I absolutely don't have any problem taking a space such as the Ontario Loft and repairing it and renewing it since it's been used, and it needs to be brought up to our standards so that we can actually use it as a multi-purpose space. But I'd like a better understanding of the budget we're approving since it's been a $10,000 increase in the space of a month. Please and thank you.
Let's hope it was some savings that we had somewhere else. I'm just wondering who might, Mr. Carmazin, would you have that information or should I go back to Mr. Marshall?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I can say that budget would be a not to exceed limit. I think that we initially put a capital sheet together for, I believe it was the 40,000 that was requested through to council, and I believe CO Webster had checked with finance for available funding, and we did have through the contingency available up to 50,000. Now it would be our goal, as with any project, to manage the budget and come in under that amount, and that would be a stated not to exceed limit.
Thank you. Councillor Roy DeClemente.
Sorry, I'm just trying to understand the funding source for it. The report says that it's a growth-related deferred revenue account. What is that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, maybe I can take that. We have received some money through development that is dedicated towards certain items, and one of these areas was the the construction or a rehabilitation of certain buildings. So through a development proposal, they provided some additional funding to us. So we've had that in a reserve and we've kept that aside, and now we're able to use it.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I'm not seeing any. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Percy.
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Morton.
May I have can we put a copy of the resolution on the screen, please, so we know what we're voting for?
Certainly. So moved by Councillor Persicini, seconded by Councillor Morton. Be it resolved that Council approve a budget in an amount not to exceed $50,000 to undertake the renovations to the Ontario Loft. Questions to the motion? I'm not seeing any. All those in favor?
So moved.
And that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, Mr. Carmazin, go ahead, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you. Just one further update for council, very brief update on the town and community entry signs. I'll ask that the clerks provide the picture to council that was provided to the clerks earlier today. Pleased to report the new town and community entry signs are now delivered to our new Ops Center yard and Ops Center. They were delivered at the end of September. This is a partnership project with Communications for the sign design and CIS Roads for the sign install. And CIS Roads is now arranging the locates, regional permits where required, and all the equipment required to start installing the signs. So be happy to answer any questions that council may have related to this project.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Questions or comments? Councillor Persicini, go ahead, please.
I'm so happy it's about time. We've been waiting for a long time, but I guess we were doing it because of the new logo. It has nothing to do with our town stuff, but once all these are up, it would be a good idea to kind of look at all the Chamber of Commerce signs and see if we can put a little pressure on them to maybe update themselves a little bit so we could look like, you know, so everything looks good. You know, so maybe we can have a look at once this is all new signs are up, maybe we can look at all the Chamber of Commerce, you know, so they can stay in par. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Mr. Carmazin, do you have an answer for Councillor Persicini or just information?
Through you, Madam Mayor, certainly have noted that and would also consult internally with Margot Beijing and Economic Development to engage the Chamber in that regard.
Thank you. I just have one question, and I know about every 3 or 4 years it kind of pops up, and it's putting a sign on the 404 to denote that we have an exit to beautiful East Gwillimbury. And I know it takes a little bit of time to weave our way through the provincial regs, but I'm thinking it might be an opportunity for us now, particularly this fall and into the winter. I'm not sure whether we have that earmarked in our budget as a standing item. I know they're expensive, but it's much like the process that we went through to get the stylized EG. We probably could do the same thing using that with our community and our young people, particularly those that are in art programs, etc., that may want to submit some ideas as well and get them involved with it. Mr. Carmazin, is it still on the books, or is it something that has floated away and we need to bring it back?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we did have some initial concepts prepared quite some time ago, a number of years ago, and then the logo changed. So I think what we can do is we can certainly put together a request to council to perhaps design in 2022 for a gate entry feature at the 404, and then from there determine with timing how to move forward with constructing the feature.
At what point do we deal with the province on their stipulations, regs, and rules?
Through you, Madam Mayor, from the onset of that project and even looking at the concept, the ministry would have provided their minimum criteria, and that would set in effect and inform the design moving forward, because there is specific criteria that's required.
It might be helpful being in touch with the Minister of Transportation. We'll wait and see about that one. Councillor Persicini, go ahead, please.
I know we're ahead of the game, but Madam Mayor, just think about what today in Newmarket we have someone who sponsored, Paul Bailey sponsored the one in Newmarket. He did a great job. So maybe we could get someone to sponsor some of the builders or some of the people who deal, so we don't have to, it doesn't come out of the town's thing. If they wish to endorse that kind of, we can start looking now to see who would sponsor our name there. And it would be great. So it's, save some money. And two, Roy DeClemente brought this good thing. There's about the, it says Newmarket on the 404. Maybe we should say Newmarket, Aurora, and also East Gwillimbury when you go on the highway. That's something, if we're going to talk about the province, maybe we get that organized at the same time, so that we also be on the map, not just Newmarket. You go on the 404, it says Newmarket. But that wasn't my idea. It was Tara's concept. I think she brought up quite a few months ago. And I just wanted maybe to remind her that when we're doing this, that we can do everything at once. Anyway, just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you, and perhaps even go as far as to design something that's going to be on the Bradford bypass road as well when we get to that level. Something that would be shelf ready to use. Councillor Roy DeClemente, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm looking at a list of open capital projects from our 2021 budget process. I can't find it, but I'm confident that we actually had a capital project that had allocated money towards a gateway feature, and there were also funds that they were very modest, but we do have funds that were given to us by Bell Canada when we put the monopole up at the exchange there, that would help to defray some of that. So I'm hoping, if it's not an open project, that it should be reopened or renewed or closed and opened again or something. But I think it's definitely time. It's been something that we've been asking for. The same thing with the 404 or the 400 series highways. Councillor Persicini, you're absolutely right. It's actually a resolution that I put forward in 2011. Asking, it was a bit tongue-in-cheek at the time, but I think as time wears on, it's more and more apt that it should be the 404 north to East Gwillimbury. But I'm happy to renew that request to our minister as well. But as far as our gateway feature, we should be looking at that at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure that staff, Mr. Karmazin, I'm looking at you, but I'm just wondering if you could steer us in the right direction of where in our budget or our finance papers that we may be able to find that item still sitting there, or perhaps it would be Mr. Marshall.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I am aware there was a previous capital project for gateway signage, both on Yonge Street as well as the 404. The Yonge Street project, we put a pause on it because the region is reconstructing Yonge Street from Newmarket through to Green Lane. And with the 404, we had the logo change. So that project, I believe, was 2 or 3 years old. And it was determined that it would be best to close out that project and reopen it at such a time when we were prepared to move forward with the design. And so I I would put forth to council that we could, as staff, if it's council's shared vision and wish, we could put forward a capital sheet for 2022.
Thank you. I'm certainly seeing nods all the way around. If I could have a motion, then we will vote on it, and that way then you'll have something to work with as well. Mr. Karmazin, moved by Councillor Persicini, seconded by Councillor Roy DiClemente. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Is there anything else in reference to community parks, recreation, and culture at this time?
Through you, Madam Mayor, nothing further at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of council, any other items? I'm not seeing any, so we'll move along to community infrastructure and environmental services. Thank you, Mr. Karmazin.
Madam Mayor, if I may interrupt for 1 second.
Yes, Councillor Martin, go ahead.
The residents are starting to come in now, so I'm going to have to sign off.
Thank you. You do your yeoman's work there in making sure that everybody in East Gwillimbury gets vaccinated at the Legion.
I will hope so. Thank you.
Thank you for your good work. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
There we go. And we'll go ahead with Mr. Molinari.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have 3 items on our agenda for council today. The first one is with regards to our drinking water quality management system owner re-endorsement. So through one of our recent audits, it was noted that our commitment and endorsement document should be signed once again to reconfirm the town's commitment to our water system. And this report simply authorizes that update. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions of Mr. Molinari? I'm not seeing any. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Roy DiClemente, Councillor Crothers, all those in favor? And that's carried. Item number 2 is Community Infrastructure Services Winter Operation Annual Update. It's just around the corner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I'm pleased to have Jeff Meggett, our Director of Operations, with us here today to provide an overview of our winter maintenance program. Under Jeff's leadership and staff's commitment to our town, our award-winning winter maintenance program has significantly reduced salt usage over time, while still maintaining very high service level. Truly happy to have such a great and dedicated team working in this area, and I'll pass it over to Jeff to provide an overview of this good news story.
Go ahead, please. Jeff, are you there?
Huh. Jeff must be having some technical difficulties. So maybe I can just run through the report in not so much detail, but I'll kind of paraphrase what Jeff was going to provide. And essentially it is, the report provides a fairly detailed review and actually provides a nice summary of us for all of the town resources that may change over time. So, kind of documenting those and seeing how, as the town grows, we're increasing the number of resources that go along with that, and showing council how that complement changes over time. So looking at some of our salt usage over time, we note that the amount of salt that we've actually been applying over the years and our management of it has significantly changed. So there was a time where, applying salt was more like making sure you put a significant amount down to protect and make sure that there was enough material on the ground to take care of any storm events, etc., that came along. And as we moved through, we did many adjustments to that in order to try and find a way to manage that salt usage better. And if we look at some of the workings and the charts that Jeff's put together, there has been a dramatic decrease in the amount of salt usage. And that's occurred while at the same time providing an excellent level of service. So, you know, it's not that we're applying less salt and we're providing not as good an operation. We're actually using less salt and providing the same level of service that was provided before. And that really comes down to knowledge of our staff, their ability to look at the storm that's in front of them and put the right amount of material down instead of putting more than what's required down. And that is really a fine art that our staff and their experience, they've really come a long way, and they're experts at that now. So and we can see that in the material that's come across. Some of the other things that yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Jeff is sitting on the screen in my picture beside you, nodding as you're speaking. Oh. So rather than have you go through it, he's agreeing with what you have indicated so far. So we're in good shape. So I wonder if I can turn it over to Jeff at this point.
Absolutely. I had the screen minimized. I didn't see you here, Jeff. So over to you.
No problem. Thank you. And sorry for the technology glitch, but these things happen virtually, so I apologize.
Not a problem.
Further to what Mike said, completely agree. We're quite happy that we've been able to reduce our salt use by 50% since 2015. And that becomes a major focus for us to reduce the amount of material. For us, it's put down the right amount of material at the right time at the right locations. So we'll continue that. We also in last year introduced some new weather monitoring on King Street. In Mount Albert, we installed a road weather system for us. It not only provides active weather monitoring for us, but also lets us to remotely monitor conditions of the road, the bridge, and the sidewalks in Mount Albert in that microclimate. It's just been another tool that we're using to try and make sure that we're deploying resources at the right time. And I just want to highlight that this is not a cheap operation. We did spend a total of about $2 million or $39,000 per event, and we continue to try and again reduce costs and make sure we're providing a high level of service at the right time. For the upcoming season, I just want to highlight on three initiatives. One is our move into our brand new home, the Operations Center. Absolutely comes with significant operational benefits, such as material loading, even the ability to park our vehicles and equipment indoors so we can deploy more rapidly. But it does come with some challenges as well. There is an impact to our existing routes and also some increased travel time to service the Sharon community in Holland Landing, specifically for sidewalks. We are a little further away, so it's something we're monitoring very carefully and we'll focus on this coming season. One of the initiatives we're also going to try this year is a pilot of the use of brooms on some of our sidewalk machines in early season to try and reduce boulevard damage, which is always a nemesis of sidewalk maintenance. We're going to try and put some brooms on instead of plows as a pilot only in the early season to try and see if we can minimize any unwanted damage before the freeze up happens and we're able to more suitably maintain. And finally, we're working on a winter dashboard with our friends in IT and as well as our GPS provider to provide a dashboard to help us actively track our operations. And we're hoping that internally we'll be able to share this with other people within the corporation that would have a value of knowing this information live, such as customer service. In the fullness of time, we're hoping this could become an external facing opportunity for residents to look at plows, such as Track My Plow. These are available in other municipalities, but we're not quite there yet. We want to make sure it's rolled out effectively internally first, and we're going to use that as an additional management tool to help us monitor. And finally, just a transition to our new roads foreman. We want to thank Murray Kellington for providing a great level of service to the community for over 30 years. And we welcome Devin Strong as a new foreperson to fill this very important role for us. And to close out, just a final gentle reminder, only 41 days left until the start of our winter maintenance program. So get your shovels and snow blowers ready, it's coming. So thank you, and again, my apologies for the technology. Welcome.
Not a problem, not a problem. We've all been there, we feel your pain. Questions, Jeff? Councillor Crothers, go ahead, please.
Thank you so much. And thank you both for the report and for the great job you guys do. Whenever there is a resident concern, it's dealt with so quickly. So thank you for that. I have heard from residents about wanting the path behind the Holland Landing Library plowed in the winter. And I know that's not part of our regular servicing. I wouldn't want to be asking for it to be hand shoveled or something like that. But if there is a way that we could, after the plows are all completed, the streets, if we could do some of our pathways, I'm wondering if that's reasonable, if my colleagues would support that, what the cost might be, and how we could go about taking a look at that. Because I know that one behind the library is really well used now, and a couple of residents have mentioned to me that they would love to see that cleared.
I would like to see a report on that rather than just go ahead with it. I think that it's like peeling the orange. Once we start, where do we stop? And I know from my years of recreation work is if we plow it, then we have the liability on it. And that becomes an issue as well. So I'm wondering, I hear your question, and I'm not sure that I'm sure that you're not the only one. And I'm wondering if it's possible to get a report back on the cost of looking at trails. I walk the Nokita Trail almost every day. And in the wintertime, I really have to pick and choose what footwear I'm wearing, first off, but sometimes I simply cannot use it. So I'm concerned that when we open it up, you would know, Mr. Maggot, better than I, how many kilometers of trails we have. Would you know that offhand?
Sorry, I would not, Madam Mayor, but I completely agree with the comment that a holistic approach to this and looking at all the trail network and what would be required to provide winter maintenance on that. Right now, our focus is on just over 110 kilometers of sidewalks, and there absolutely would be an impact to adding a much broader inventory into that network.
I'm wondering then if I've set a report, but perhaps just some details that could come back to our next meeting. I would expect that you could spend hours and hours on a report when it comes to sidewalk plowing, et cetera, but something much less than that, just to give us an indicator of what we're opening ourselves up to if in fact we made that decision. Does that work for members of council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's basically what I'm asking for. I wouldn't want to spend too much staff time on, looking at every little trail, but just the main ones, the ones that are operationally efficient for us to plow, after all the other sidewalks are done. Even if we have to take a second pass on the sidewalks, put any trails on a lower level of maintenance, but to just be able to do something on those trails. I'd be interested too in the mayor's comment about liability. If we have the signs posted saying that we're not liable, if we do a little bit of snow shoveling, does that change our liability? It would just be interested to get a bigger picture of it. Again, don't want to put staff to a lot of work on this, but just an overview. And if we decide that it's something we want to do, we can dig in deeper at a later date. But I would be very happy with that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Persicini, you have a comment, but I also see we have another comment as well. So I'll let Councilor Persicini go first, and then go to staff.
What I thought that Crowders meant is only the path like that we have over here at the library from Beckett to go to the library. I think we should look at those kind of things first, the paths to take you somewhere, because I think the trails, you're asking, and not disrespect to Councilor Crowders, once you put signs up, oh, you're using your own risk, then you're asking someone, oh, you mean I can sue you? So, like we used to have that big ramp that we used to have at the back of the town there. I think if we do it, I agree with her. If we have any path that it leads you to somewhere, just to sort of give an example, as I said, to the Beckett to the library, a little past people, shortcuts, that makes a lot more sense than doing the trails. Trails is like, oh my God, you walk it every day, and I do use it a lot. It's too long of everything to get done. But anyway, let the staff look at it.
Thank you. Mr. Molinari, you had a comment, question, answer?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, so, you know, we provided a report to council several years ago on some walkways and other things that that the town would do, and some of those walkways are really constrained by width, and as Councillor Carruthers noted, some of them are very operationally inefficient to manage, and it is handwork. So, you know, but if there are a couple of locations where it's operationally efficient, and it's providing, you know, a good access from one area to the next, those are things that we can certainly look at doing. I think the whole network as a whole would be a bit of a stretch in terms of the amount of materials and equipment that would be required, but I think there's something in between that we can look at. And one of the things that we did as part of the last report when we looked at this was making sure that we had all the school routes covered, and some of those highly trafficked areas. So we have looked at this before, and I think it's time to refine that and come back. We'll come back to you with a couple of locations that we think we can fit into the program, and maybe a bit of an implementation plan around that.
Thank you. Councillor Roy DeClemente.
I will take advantage of all the puns possible and say that I think that this is a slippery slope. If we start talking about doing trails, I know we have over 30 kilometers of trails in the town of East Gwillimbury. Where do we set the boundary? If it becomes a question of, if we do this section because there's a really good reason for it, then there are going to be other equally good reasons for other sections, and in particular the Nikita Trail and so on. It's the same conversation that we have with residents who say, why aren't you paving the trails? Why do you have a granular base on your trails? Why aren't you lighting your trails with electrical? There's a whole slew of reasons, and that part of it is that we want our trails to remain natural as possible. And during the winter months, that means that they freeze and thaw and they get snow on them. And maybe under community announcements, I should have noted that those ice crampons that go, the little rubber things that go on your boots during the winter, they're on sale at Costco this week. So maybe we should go and get some of those and continue to enjoy our trails. I'm all for making sure that our students can get to school safely and not have to walk on dangerous parts of the roads. If we can get their school routes done safely, that's good. But as far as our trails are concerned, I think we really just have to be cautious. I'm happy to receive a report, but I'm not interested in expanding our service level to that extent. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Mr. Karmazin, I believe did you have a comment as well?
Through you, Madam Mayor, just to echo some of the comments that Councillor Roy DeClemente had made. Our standard is not a paved standard. It is a granular standard, which presents significant challenges for snow removal and maintenance, and in addition, preventative maintenance and response repair and maintenance with regards to rehabilitating the trail system if you attempt to remove snow and ice from a granular base, so that we do not have an infrastructure in place that would be conducive to routine maintenance and a level of risk management where, you know, we're inviting our residents in and providing an adequate duty owed. So just some comments in that regard.
Thank you. Councillor Carruthers, go ahead.
I just want to be clear that I was only asking about the one trail to get people from Thompson to the library. So when I keep hearing, well, we can't do all the trails, I just want to be clear, I was never my intention that we should do all the trails. I do believe that trails in their natural state are fantastic, and it's part of living in Canada in the winter. But it's the cut throughs, similar to what Councillor Bersaccini was saying, the things that get people from A to B. If there's a way to do those in an operationally efficient way, that's all I'm asking for. Thanks.
Thank you. I think we've left it that Mr. Karmazin will come back with some kind of a recommendation or a report. I'm hearing from members of council that they're not looking for pages and pages, but rather probably a short, concise report addressing this issue. Am I correct? Okay, thank you. So we'll leave it at that. Councillor Roy DeClemente.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to come back to the original report and thank Mr. Meggett for such a detailed report. I love numbers and statistics, and there were some great nuggets that were left there for me. In particular, the fact that a storm event costs us $39,000 every time it snows. I liked that one a lot, and I wanted to express my appreciation, as well as you covered it off in your comments, but my question had been the Find My Plow a feature is something that other municipalities have that's quite popular. So if we can make that happen for our residents in the years to come, I think that will be an attractive proposition. And also I wanted to thank him for the heads up that resources will be needed in the 2022-2023 season, so that while you're acknowledging that you're still able to meet minimum maintenance standards with your current staffing levels, you will need resources. And so when you do come back to us to ask for it, I was going to just request that if you could include some information on sort of a staffing per lane kilometer, or what a municipal best practice might be, then we can make sure that we're staffed accordingly, or that we're contracting resources accordingly. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think we did have a resolution there. Let me just see if I can bring it back up. There it is. Be it resolved that Community Infrastructure and Environmental Services Memorandum dating October 5th, 2021, entitled 21-22 Winter Operation Annual Update be received, and that Council requests staff to provide information with respect to the implementation plan and cost of winter maintenance for trails at a future Council meeting. I have a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Persicini, Councillor Crothers. All those in favor? Have your hands up again, please. I don't have enough. Does not pass. Well, put your hands up again, please. I only have 3. Thank you. So that, Councillor Roy DeClemente.
May I make a motion that we receive Mr. Meggett's report, please?
Thank you. And do I have a seconder? Councillor Foster. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. We'll move along to the Joint Community Infrastructure and Environmental Services and Community Parks, Recreation and Culture Memo, Vivian Creek Park entrance closure.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this really is just an update for Council and the public's information. Just want to point out that Vivian Creek Park entrance will be closed to vehicular traffic from October 6th until Friday, October 22, and pedestrians will be able to access the park, and there will be parking across the street at the Ross Family Complex. And happy to answer any questions.
Do we know how long it will be closed?
Yep, from October 6th to the 22nd. And that's leaving a little bit of extra for some weather events, but so hopefully before then, but that's the current estimate.
Thank you. Councillor Crone, you had a question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you too, Mr. Molinari. I'm just curious, we're just receiving this. We've already approved this, closing the entrance. That's already been done? Or are we receiving this report, just so I'm clear?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the development that requires this work has been approved through Council. And these are just works that are required in order to support that development by providing their emergency access at this location.
Okay, and through you, Madam Mayor, I'm not trying to be a wise guy. I just saw that they were sawing into the pavement already today, so wasn't sure if we'd given permission for them to do so or not, or if this vote was just informational. The only recommendation I'd give though is I was at the park last week, and I will confess I did not see the sign that told us about the closing, and it faces the street, and maybe it should be more perpendicular, because it's hard to read it as you're driving by. I don't know if it was done that way for safety reasons or not, but the signage was not, readily visible. So you may want to consider that. Just some people may not have seen it like I did, and you might be hearing from them. Just a heads up. Anyway, thank you, Madam Mayor. That's it for me.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, this is a motion just to receive. I have a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Persichini, Councillor Foster, all those in favor, and that's carried. Mr. Molinari, is there any other information that we should be aware of today?
Nothing at this time, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I'll just ask if members of council have any questions that have not been answered in this area. I'm not seeing that. We will move to development services under item P, and we have two items there. Mr. Rubino, good to see you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. Yeah, as you mentioned, two memos from Development Services. The first one is a park lot control exemption bylaw in Holland Landing, Wingfoot Phase 2. It's to permit the division and sale of 2 semi-detached units. And the second memo, Madam Mayor, is another power law control exemption bylaw. This one is in the Sharonvit subdivision for the division and sale of 41 townhouse units just west of Morel Boulevard. And both memos have accompanying bylaws for council's enactment later on in this council meeting. That's it from Development Services, Madam Mayor, if there are any questions.
Thank you. Questions of Mr. Ramuno? We'll start with number one, the first one, which is Regal Crest Homes. Any questions on that one? I'm not seeing any. Could I have a mover and a seconder for that one, please? Councillor Crone, Councillor Foster, all those in favor? That's carried. Item 2 is the Sharonvit. Questions on Sharonvit? Councillor Crothers, go ahead.
So I'm taking a look at this and I'm seeing how tiny these lots are, and I'm sure that the ship has already sailed on this, but I'm concerned about parking. We continue to have issues with parking in our newer builds, and I see us with these tiny lots, and I just want to get some reassurance that parking has been taken into consideration in this plan of subdivision.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, so this subdivision was approved a couple of years ago, and the townhome units are these street townhome units have the minimum standard of 2 parking spaces per townhome unit. But as we are moving forward, we've heard the concern from council. We are, as part of our OP update and just our subdivision design standards, we are looking at opportunities with respect to new developments where we can achieve additional parking. But the subdivision was approved with our current standard.
Yeah, because as we were building car-dependent communities, we have to have places to park those cars, and 2 spaces, usually one is the garage, and we know that fills up with bikes and lawnmowers. So each of these homes will effectively have 1 parking spot, so we can be assured that future councilors will be getting complaints from the residents about where they park their cars. The flip side of that is not to build car dependent communities, but if we are, then we have to provide the parking spaces. Is there? I understand this has already been approved, but it's here, before us again. Is there anything that we can do to increase parking in these types of subdivisions that have been previously approved?
Through you, Madam Mayor. No, unfortunately not. I mean, it's been approved and the construction is underway within this subdivision as well.
Thank you.
Councillor Roy DeClemente and then Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a bit of maybe a history lesson. This particular subdivision was originally planned as part of the Sharon Village subdivision to be all single detached homes, and it was subject to some red line revision applications, and it actually ended up at the LPAT under appeal. So that's why this is the way it is, because it was originally planned to be single detached homes, and it's now townhouses. And when we were dealing with that application, we were concerned about the issue of visitor parking and so on in the subdivision. So you're absolutely spot on, Councillor Carruthers, and this is an unfortunate circumstance that we don't have the control over. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Foster, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And again, just a comment. Some time ago, we had had a presentation from staff about our parking issues. I think at that time we had received a letter from a former councillor with his thought processes on parking. And I know I spoke to it at the time. And I thought we were going to receive a report back from staff, both planning and CIES, I believe, about some possible parking solutions that we might come up with. I know at that time we talked about, maybe some room on the boulevard where there is currently grass between the traveled portion of the street and the sidewalk, and those types of things where we may be able to come up with some improved parking or some numbers. I'm just wondering where we stand with that, and could we maybe resurrect that issue and get some sort of a report with some new and fabulous ideas on where we might find some parking?
In reference to this particular application or generally?
I think generally. I know that one time we talked about what we wanted to do in the future, but the question was with the number of developments that we've had over the last few years, and there's parking issues everywhere we go. So I think it's a big issue, and I'd certainly look forward to seeing some fabulous ideas.
Thank you. Mr. Ramuno?
Through you, Madam Mayor, certainly we can take this back with IES and have a discussion to see what we can bring forward to council with some additional ideas. I mean, I know we had this discussion a while ago with council with respect to updating our sort of new subdivision designs and parking standards. So it's definitely going to be a challenge moving forward, but it's certainly something that we can put our minds to and bring back an information report for council.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Roy DeClemente, in going backwards a little bit and explaining where we were with this one, because this one is one that sticks in the minds of those that were here a little while ago. I know that we tried our very best. We just couldn't deliver our very best. And the problem that I see, I was out last week in 2 locations with complaints about parking tickets, and I actually went and stood on people's curb and saw what the problem was. And in many cases, the sidewalk is not on the drawings when they buy the house. And therefore, the sidewalk contributes to part of the dilemma as well. And I'm not sure how we can deal with that. But clearly, if you are fortunate or unfortunate to have a sidewalk on your side of the road, then anything from the sidewalk in is the only place that you can put your vehicle, because the other part of it will have your bumper hanging out into the roadway. I know that acreage is very, very expensive, and they're trying to make affordable houses that people can move into, but this is one of the huge problems. And I remember quite distinctly when we were dealing with this, was talking about some land at the end of the road, and could they put some visitor parking or whatever in there? And it obviously went by the wayside again, because if they could put a house on it, then you wouldn't be allowing people to park their vehicles. Garages are full of stuff, and people have 2 cars. They don't have 1. And sometimes even more than that, and then visitors, and somebody's living in the basement, etc. So it's a huge problem. I'm not sure what the answer is. Staff I would like to think that going forward, what we're dealing with now that's being built, hopefully we have become a little more of an expert in talking about parking and come up with some other creative ways of making sure that the developers, when they're selling the properties, need to ensure that the owners or the purchasers understand how much land they really have there. And I think that's the whole problem in a nutshell. Councillor Roy DeClemente.
I was just going to add that savvy purchasers will actually ask in a sales office where the sidewalk is if it's not shown. But having a sidewalk in some of these subdivisions, when it comes to resale of the home, it actually impacts value. That there is a price tag associated with having a sidewalk in front of you, whether it's a parking issue or whether it's simply disrespectful dog owners, it does impact value on resale as well. Thank you.
Not in a positive way. Councillor Foster, go ahead, please.
Thanks, Madam Mayor, and not to make this any longer than it needs to be. One of the issues that I spoke to directly was there's some townhouses, I believe, on the south end of Morel Boulevard, east side of Morel, that we have no parking in the front, and there are garages with the lane in between at the back. There is absolutely no parking for anyone that is a visitor to any of those people. No, whether it be something that slipped through the cracks, whether it's a developer or something that, or planning, or however it works out, I think it's incumbent upon us that we need to do something about that. I'm not sure what that is, but those are new ideas that I'm looking forward to hearing. But I mean, to have absolutely no parking for anyone that comes to your residence is not acceptable.
That's all they can afford. That's the dilemma. Another issue that I noticed last week was, and I was surprised, I knew about it earlier, but share it with you now, is the houses that front onto Leslie Street in Queensville have a front door on Leslie Street. And as a result, when you drive by, that's where they're parking their car, on Leslie Street. And so there's a long row of cars, both on either side of the entry roads to go into the subdivision, that are filled with cars. And of course, they park there and they go in the front door. So note to all of us that we can't put front doors on main roads such as this, because that's exactly what it's going to be used for. Well, I don't know that we solved anything, but maybe we got some, certainly some issues out. We'll feel better for it. Mr. Ramuno, certainly not expected you're going to solve every problem that we've just given you in the last 10 minutes, but I think when it comes to having a look at plans of subdivision that come before us, should some of these items be in there and one of us doesn't pick it up, if you could kindly highlight that for us so we know that what it is that we're approving. And in fact, let's not make, I'm not going to say it was a mistake, but let's not make another situation like this that we deal with it while we're still looking at plans on paper. Councillor Crothers, go ahead, please.
And just looking at your comment about affordability, that's all they can afford. You know, I think that speaks volumes, and it really speaks to the fact that we have to be looking at less car dependent communities. You know, if we only have space for one car, if that's all they can afford, then they need to be able to walk other places. You know, often it's two adults in the unit. So if they have one car between them, the other one can walk to all different amenities. I think that's something that we really have to be looking at as we move forward. It's nothing we can do about what's been planned in the past, but as we move forward in our official plan, we need to be looking at If affordability means you cannot park 2 cars plus a visitor parking spot, then we have to be building less car dependent communities. So I think that's where the solution ultimately lies. And I hope that we can really look at that in our OP. Thank you.
That's where the solution lies. Unfortunately, the body that we are in right now doesn't have the ability to talk about transit, etc. But point well taken. Thank you. I'm not seeing any other questions or comments. Could I have a mover to seconder, please? Councillor Persicini, Councillor Crone, all those in favor? And that's carried. Mr. Ramuto, anything else that we should be aware of today?
Nothing further, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm looking at the agenda and I'm looking at the clock. Councillor Roy DeClemente, did you have something at this point, or is it time to have a 20-minute break and get back at it? I don't think it's going to be very long. However, we do have a closed session, and I'm sometimes very good at guessing the timing, but not always. Councillor Roy DeClemente, did you have a comment moving forward?
I had something under development services, but I'll raise it afterwards with staff. Thank you.
Okay. Might I suggest that my clock is saying 12:35, and I'm wondering if we are back at 1 o'clock. Does that give you enough time, or should I be a little more? I'm seeing nodding, so with that, if we can take a break at this point and be back at 1 o'clock, and I would hope by 2:30 we would conclude the agenda, and perhaps even sooner. We're not rushing through things, though. Thank you. Okay, very good. Welcome back, everyone. We are working on correspondence for consideration, and we have the first one is dated September 28, 2021 regarding Regional Council Decision 2021 Servicing Capacity Assignments and Status Update. And I'll refer this to staff, please.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, do you mind repeating where we're at in the agenda right now, just so we can catch up?
Sorry, correspondence for consideration, page 5 of 119, and it's at the bottom Q. Correspondence from York Region dated September 28th, 2021 regarding Regional Council Decision 2021 Servicing Capacity Assignment Status Update.
I think that is to be referred to staff, Madam Mayor, for information and a report back if necessary.
Very good. Could I have a mover and a seconder to that? And Councillor Crone and Councillor Foster. All those in favor? And that's carried. That is all I had under correspondence for consideration. We're now at our closed meeting, and we will proceed into a closed municipal meeting of Municipal Council personnel matter about an identifiable or identifiable individuals, and Municipal Act Section 2392B Council Appointed Committee update. And motion be it resolved that council proceed into a closed meeting of Municipal Council at 1:03 p.m. to deal with the following matters: personal matter about identifiable individual or individuals, Municipal Act Section 2392, and B, council appointed committee update. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Crothers, Councillor Foster, all those in favor? That's carried. We can just wait a moment so we can get into private section. are now out of closed session to rise and report from closed session of Municipal Council. Be it resolved, Council rise and report for the closed meeting at 1:10 p.m. and that Council endorse all directions provided by staff at the closed meeting of Municipal Council held on October 5th, 2021. Movers and seconder, please. Councillor Foster, Councillor Roy DeClemente, all those in favor? And that's carried.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we have prepared a resolution with respect to the increase of composition for the pound keepers. If council would like to entertain that resolution.
Yes, go ahead, please.
So essentially, the resolution is seeking council's approval to change the composition limit from 2 to 4 municipal officers. It is also reiterating the pound keepers to be paid at $100 per call plus mileage, and requesting that staff present bylaw 2021-90, appointing 4 individuals to be the town's pound keepers.
Thank you. Any questions? Could I have a mover and a seconder? I think Councillor Crone, you're the rural guy, although it doesn't always happen in rural, but I think it's one of your phone calls on a regular basis. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Roy DeClemente, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. We're down to resolutions. And we have 2 bylaws. No, sorry, go ahead. Madam Clerk.
Through you, Madam Mayor, you do have 4 prepared bylaws as well as 3 additional appointment bylaws that have been added. So the total is now at 7 bylaws for council's approval. I can read those out for you. Just bear with me.
Okay.
Just going to pull it onto the screen actually. So bylaw 2021-83, bylaw 2021-84, both are in relation to the part lot control and in relation to the memos that were presented earlier. Number 3 is a bylaw to authorize the hybrid system using internet voting for advance. This is in relation to the report that was approved last meeting. The next bylaw is to amend our procedure bylaw to allow for the inaugural meeting of council to take place on November 15th. As well as 3 additional bylaws for the appointment and removal of an individual from the 2 committees, as well as the appointment of the pound keepers.
Thank you very much. Councillor Roy DeClemente, go ahead.
I'd like to separate bylaw 085 for the voting system out for recorded vote, please.
So we will deal with all of the others first, and then we will deal with that one.
I'd be happy to move all of the others as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Do I have a second?
I'd be happy to move all the others as well.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Persicini, all those in favor? That's carried. And item, I'm sorry, which one was it?
Number 3, bylaw 085.
So this is the bylaw to authorize the use of hybrid system using internet voting for advanced voting days only and optical scan vote tabulators and accessible voting equipment for advanced voting and voting day for the 2022 municipal election. Is there any discussion?
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Roy DeClemente had requested for a recorded vote on this particular bylaw. Councillor Roy DeClemente, how do you vote?
I vote yes, but I think you need a mover and a seconder.
Yes.
Which I'm happy to move.
Thank you. We're halfway between. Okay, we have a mover. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Crone. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, Councillor Roy DeClemente, you had initially indicated yes.
Yes.
Councillor Carruthers, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Crone, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Foster, how do you vote?
Yes.
How do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Morton absent. With notice, Councillor Persicini, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor, that motion's carried.
Thank you very much. And we have concluded that. We're down to you. And this is expenditure approval for the Ontario Loft. I think that was dealt with under earlier. It's no longer an issue. Thank you. And a confirming bylaw, be it resolved that bylaw 2021-07 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council meeting held on October 5th, 2021. Oh, Councillor Foster, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, I may have missed, my computer's been going in and out of here, but I did have one thing I wanted to bring up under other business. I am in the right time for that, correct?
You are.
Thank you.
Anytime's the right time.
There you go. I've had a good conversation with a resident who is gaining some support in West Holland Landing, and I wanted to bring this up again. The topic of the train whistles has come up again. But I do think after our conversation that I would like to have maybe put something on the floor here to have staff prepare something for us. We did look rather extensively at this in 2019, I believe, was the last time we looked at it. So things have changed. The frequency of trains has grown. So therefore we have more noise. The possibility of the twinning of some track and some side-by lanes and that type of thing. So I'm wondering if we could have some further information to make sure that we're still good with the decision we made a couple of years ago, or whether it needs to be looked at again. My background tells me that I'm a little bit nervous taking away anything that indicates a train's coming from a safety point of view, but I think we need to look at this again, and there may be some new information there.
Thank you. I know that Markham and Stouffville had worked extensively on it the last time when we came forward with the position that we held, and we used some of their information as well. So I would ask that if staff could go back and have another look at it. I think it'll be important to talk about the frequency of the trains that are coming. We know that. I've been told by the Minister of Transportation that we will be having GO trains every half hour both ways. I'm not sure how late in the day or early in the morning, but we are going to be having them coming, and our train tracks in Holland Landing go directly through our neighborhoods for a variety of past reasons why. So I'm wondering if we have staff, Mr. Webster, could I leave it with you to go back and work with staff to come back for some type of an answer to, I think it was a gentleman, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, and I do have a couple of emails from him, and I've spoken to him on the phone. We had some really good dialogue. And maybe I'll forward that email to Gina so it can be shared with both council and our staff to going forward.
Thank you. The only concern that I have, and it hasn't changed from the last time, is the liability on the municipality. And I certainly don't want to put the municipality in a position that we may be in. Should something happen, and that goes back to when we dealt with it before, and unless I'm told differently, I feel the very same way again. But let's have another look at it and see if there's an option. I think it's all or nothing. And that's one thing I wonder, Mr. Webster, if we could determine that either the whistles go or the whistles don't. It's not that when kids are in bed at night or it's 3 o'clock in the morning that is bothering people. Either we go for stopping the whistles on our tracks completely, or or they are used. But if we could get that answer for sure, you know, somewhere in the middle, maybe a little more palatable for a resident, particularly new to town, who didn't, I won't say didn't know, but certainly wasn't aware of the frequency of the trains, particularly going to Bradford. Go ahead, Councillor Foster.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. And when I spoke to this resident, he indicated that both he and most of his neighbors understood that the train tracks were there and there was going to be some noise, but the change in the frequency, I think, is what's got this one kind of going, and I understand both ways. And I think maybe if we could have staff also look into, I know that there was a lot of procedures and protocols that went along with the level crossings and the levels that they had to meet. So maybe there's changes there too. I'm not sure.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Webster, any comments at this time?
No, Madam Mayor, we will take an update. We do this on a fairly regular basis every couple of years. Unfortunately, one of the solutions is very expensive. It's separating the grades and having the trains not pass over roads but be elevated, and that's a very expensive solution. And I know we're constantly asking even for the green lane crossing just north of the GO train station itself to be a grade separated solution in the future. So we will refer it to Mr. Molinari's area and look forward to an updated report back.
Thank you very much. As much as there are people that are not happy with the trains and the whistles, we have a lot of people who are very supportive of having the trains, that they don't need to take their cars to the city to even to go from Bradford to Aurora or a little further south. So it's one of those issues that not everybody's going to be happy no matter which way we go on it. So, okay, thank you. Anything else that we need to discuss at this time? Councillor Crothers, go ahead, please.
Madam Mayor, when you had brought up earlier about a staff report on the cleaning of the walkways, it had to be voted on by council. So I just want to be consistent and have a vote on this staff report as well.
Okay, just let's see if we can get that up with Madam Clerk. There it is. Be it resolved that council requests staff to report back with an update regarding the frequency of train travel and train whistle sounds for railway crossings in the town of East Gwillimbury.
I'm happy to move that.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Foster, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you very much. We are now at our confirming bylaw. Be it resolved that bylaw 2021-087, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on October 5th, 2021, be taken and read and acted and signed by the mayor and municipal clerk. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Persicini, Councillor Crothers, all those in favor? And that's carried. And an adjournment, to be it resolved that the meeting of council be adjourned at 1:24 p.m. Moved and seconded, please. Councillor Crone, Councillor Foster, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. If I had known we were going to be fast on the back end, we probably could have just pushed it through, but as sure as we don't, then it's not fast. So anyway, we're done. We've got the whole afternoon now. Thank you very much.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
Yes.
Take care, everyone.
You too.
Be
Thank
good.
you.
Bye-bye.